Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Do you want to hear a story?
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
you excited?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, our story for today is all about the rainbow fish. Alam nyo ba kung saan nakatira ang mga isda?
Sa tubig.
Okay, very good. So, let's start. Far out in the sea lived a fish. No ordinary fish, however, he was the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. His scales shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow. Do you know what is the rainbow?
Yes.
Yes, very good. The other fish liked his colorful scales and called him Rainbow Fish. Come on, play with us, Rainbow Fish. But Rainbow Fish was proud and swam past them. A little blue fish swam along behind him. Rainbow Fish, wait for me. Please give me one of your glittering scales. They are so beautiful and you have got so many. Give you one of my scales? What are you thinking of? Cried Rainbow Fish. Get away from me. Shocked, the blue little fish swam away. Still excited, he told his friends about it. From then on, nobody wanted any more to do with Rainbow Fish. They turned away when he swam past them. What use were Rainbow Fish beautiful scales if they were no longer admired by anyone? Now, he was the loneliest fish in the entire ocean. I'm so beautiful. Why doesn't anyone like me? In a cave behind the coral reef lives the wise octopus. Perhaps he can help you, said the starfish. Rainbow Fish found the cave. It was very dark there. He could hardly see anything. Then suddenly, he saw two glowing eyes. I have been expecting you, said the octopus in a deep voice. Listen to my advice. Give every fish one of your glittering scales. Then you may not be the most beautiful fish in the ocean, but you will be happy again. Give away my scales? My beautiful glittering scales? Thought Rainbow Fish, horrified. Never! No! How could I be happy without them? Suddenly, he felt the light touch of a pin. The little blue fish was back. Rainbow Fish, please, don't be angry. Please give me one of your glittering scales, a small one. Rainbow Fish hesitated. A very, very small scale, he thought. Why not? I will hardly miss it. Rainbow Fish carefully pulled off the very smallest of his glittering scales. Here, I'll give you this one, but now leave me in peace. Thank you very much, burbled the little blue fish excitedly. You are kind, Rainbow Fish. Rainbow Fish felt quite strange. The little blue fish darted through the water with his glittering scale. Soon, Rainbow Fish was surrounded by other fish. All of them wanted to have a glittering scale. Rainbow Fish shared out his scales and felt very happy. Come on, Rainbow Fish, come and play with us, called the others. I'm coming, said Rainbow Fish and went happily with the other fish. The end. What is the, do you understand the story of the Rainbow Fish?
Yes.
Yes. What is the name of this fish?
The rainbow fish.
Okay, very good. So, anong natutunan nyo sa story na binasa ni teacher? Ano natutunan nyo? Sabi daw dito, huwag daw maging madamot. Dapat daw magbigay kung anong meron tayo. Ano po?
Yes.
No, nag-enjoy ba kayo, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, Mom.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, it's nice and good to hear that all of you are good and fine. As I promised yesterday, we will have a storytelling today. Are you excited?
Yes, Mom.
Okay, but before that, sit up straight, zip your mouth, hand up your lapses, and listen to me, okay?
Yes, Mom.
Okay, our story for today is this. But first, what can you say or what can you tell about this picture?
Duck.
Okay, there's a duck. How about this one? This is different from the others. Okay. And in this story, we will find out why this duck is different from others. Okay, our story for today is entitled The Ugly Duckling by Hans Andersen. Again, what is the title of this story?
The ugly duckling.
Okay, very good. Let's start. There was once a mother duck. This mother duck had no children yet, for none of her eggs had hatched. She waited patiently day and night for her babies to hatch. One day, as she was sitting on her nest of eggs, the mother duck felt something beneath her. Crack, crack, crack. Filled with happiness, the mother duck watched as one by one her eggs hatched. She was so excited to lead her children to the pond and teach them all the ways of being a duck. Unfortunately for the mother duck, one egg was left to hatch. This egg was browner and larger. Her little ducks impatiently waited for 2 more days. I want to go to the pond, mother. Let's go, let's go. 2 more quacked excitedly. But the mother duck made them all wait, for she promised herself that she would love all her children the same. At the crack of the dawn on the 3rd day of waiting, the large brown egg began to vibrate. Then suddenly, crack! This baby beak was a little too long. His feathers were a little too scruffy, and his face was a little too ugly. But nonetheless, the mother duck promised herself that she would love all her children the same. All of the ducks in the pond stared at the ugly duckling and began to laugh. This one looks nothing, one jested. This one is ugly, the others scoffed. One evening, as all of the ducks in the pond had gone to sleep, the ugly duckling decided that it was time for him to live in a place where he felt unwanted. So the little ugly duckling ran away. He approached a new pond that was filled with a family of different ducks. "Hello there," beamed the ugly duckling. "And who are you?" asked the mother duck. "What are you?" asked the father duck. "You are surely are ugly," all the duckling chimed in. Next, the ugly duckling came to an even larger pond filled with a family of geese. Same approach with other. But the father of the geese said, "Though you are quite strange looking, you may stay with us. You are more than welcome to join our family." Many days and nights passed, and the ugly duckling was living happily with the geese. But Hunter and his basset hand approached the pond. The hunter began firing off shots at the geese, and the hunt chased the birds around the pond, trying to catch one. However, the ugly duckling had become very weak and hungry. he did not have enough strength to fly. In the morning, the ugly duckling awoke to the sound of human chatter. "What is it?" an old woman asked. "A duck, perhaps," her husband replied. "Just what we've needed," the woman exclaimed. With that, the farmer and his wife allowed the ugly duckling to live with them, in the hopes that the duck would lay eggs for them to eat. They waited and waited and waited. But nothing happened. The ugly duckling never laid eggs. He did, however, grow larger and harder to take care of. Though the farmer and his wife had grown fond of the ugly duckling, they had no more room him in their house. And so, they shooed him out. "Go, find yourself a family that will love you," shouted the farmer, as he shut the door. The ugly duckling waddled far away from the farmer's house. He waddled through no frozen marsh plants and large frozen river reeds. He waddled over frozen bundles of sticks and frozen piles of dung. Miraculously, the ugly duckling had survived the cold winter. With spring, all of the frozen ponds melted and the frost evaporated from the marsh plants and river reeds. The ugly duckling is still sad. He approached a crystal clear pond and saw a family of the most beautiful bird he had ever seen, the swan. As he sat by the water's edge, he didn't even dare to ask these birds if he could join, for he knew if he was too ugly to live with ducks, geese, and humans, he was surely too ugly to live with a gorgeous bevy of swans. Suddenly, a swan gracefully glided through the water over to where the ugly duckling was sitting. My! Your feathers are the whitest I have ever seen. How they gleam in the sun!" the swan exclaimed to the ugly duckling. Confused, the ugly duckling wandered to the water and peered at his reflection. Much to his surprise, he was not an ugly duckling. He was a beautiful white swan with a long and elegant neck. The swan recognized this couple as the farmer and his wife. The farmer looked at the once ugly duckling and said, "It looks like you found yourself a niche, a family." "You are the most beautiful swan I have ever seen." And for the rest of his days, the swan lived happily with his new swan family and was greeted often by the farmer and his family. And that is the end of our story, The Ugly Duckling by Hans Andersen. Again, what's the title of our story?
The Ugly Duckling.
Okay. Who are the main character in this story?
Ugly duck.
Okay, the ugly duck. And what do you think are the reason why he left their home? Because he felt unwanted and he treated by the others badly. And who did he met along the crystal clear pond?
That's one.
Okay, very good, the swan. And the moral lesson of this story, or the moral of this story, are you cannot judge a person by outward appearance. Accept yourself for who you are. Don't judge a book by its cover or don't treat people differently because they look different. And that's all. Are you enjoyed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you for listening and God bless.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, teacher.
Are you ready to hear the story about the Little Red Riding Hood?
Yes.
So now I will tell you the story about the Little Red Riding Hood. Are you ready?
Yes.
There was a little girl who was always wearing a red hood, so everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood would visit her grandmother. Her mother gave her a basket of goodies as a present. On her way to her grandmother's house, she met a wolf. Do you know what is wolf?
Yes.
The wolf was so pleasant, Little Red Riding Hood easily made friends with him. I am going to visit my grandma, she told him. You can take the shortcut road to her house. The wolf pointed at the road where we had come from. Then the wolf ran as fast as he could to Grandma's house. The wolf tied the old woman and hid her. When Little Red Riding Hood came, the wolf hid his body under the bed covers. The little girl did not know what it was the wolf she was talking with. I have something for you, Grandma, she said. Little Red Riding Hood took the hand of the old woman to ask for blessing. You got very big eyes, Grandma, she cried. You also got big eyes. Your teeth are also big, the frightened girl said. Little Red Riding Hood suddenly jumped out of bed. The wolf threw the bed covers and leaped out of bed. You can't run away from me, he said. A passing woodcutter arrived just in time before the wolf could gobble up Little Red Riding Hood. Lastly, Little Red Riding Hood was back in her mother's arms. She promised never to befriend a wolf again. The end. Did you enjoy the story?
Yes.
What is the name of this girl? The Little Red Riding Hood. Did you enjoy the story again?
Yes. Yes.
So, that's all. Thank you.
Do you want a story?
Yes.
Did you know the story of A Mother for Choco?
No.
Okay, you need to listen carefully to understand it, okay? A Mother for Choco by Keiko Casa. Choco was a little bird who lived all alone. He wished he had a mother, but who could his mother be? One day, he set off to find her. First, Choco met Mrs. Chirap. Oh, Mrs. Chirap, he cried. You are yellow just like me. Are you my mother? I'm sorry, sighed Mrs. Chirap, but I don't have a wings like you. Next, Choco met Mrs. Penguin. Oh, Mrs. Penguin, he cried. You have wings like me. Are you my mother? I'm sorry, sighed Mrs. Penguin, but I don't have a big round cheeks like you. Then Choco met Mrs. Walrus. Oh, Mrs. Walrus, he cried. You have a big round cheeks just like me. Are you my mother? Now look, groaned Mrs. Walrus. I don't have a striped feet like you, so don't bother me. No matter where Choco searched, he could not find a mother who looked just like him. When Choco saw Mrs. Bear picking apples, he knew she could not be his mother. Mrs. Bear did not look like him at all. Choco was so sad he started to cry. Mommy, mommy, I need a mommy. Mrs. Bear came running to see what was the matter. As she listened to Choco's story, she sighed, "Oh dear, if you had a mommy, what she'd do? Oh, I'm sure she would hold me," sobbed Choco. "Like this?" asked Mrs. Bear, and she held Choco very tight. "Yes, and I'm sure she would kiss me too," said Choco. "Like this?" asked Mrs. Bear, and she lifted Choco and gave him a big kiss. "Yes, and I'm sure she would sing and dance with me to cheer me up," said Choco. "Like this?" asked Mrs. Bear, and they sang and danced together. When they, when they stopped to rest, Mrs. Bear turned to Choco and said, "Choco, maybe I could be your mother." "You?" Choco cried. "But you are not yellow, and you don't have a wings or big round cheeks, or striped feet like me." "My goodness," said Mrs. Bear. "That would make me look very funny." Choco thought it was funny too. "Well," said Mrs. Bear, "my other children are waiting for me at home. Why don't you join us for apple pie, Choco?" Apple pie sounded wonderful to Choco. So off they went. When they arrived, Mrs. Bear's other children rushed out to greet her. "Choco," said Mrs. Bear, "meet Hippie, Ali, and Piggy. I am their mother too." The sweet smell of apple pie and the sound of laughter soon filled Mrs. Bear's home. After their delicious trip, Mrs. Bear gave all her children a big, warm bear hug, and Chupa was very happy that his new mommy looked just the way she did. And this is the end of the story of A Mother for Choco. Did you understand the story?
Yes.
Um, if you really understand the story, can I ask you some question?
Okay.
Who is the first animal that Choco met?
Giraffe.
Okay, very good. And what was the bird name in the story?
Choco.
Okay, very good. Then next is who is became a mother for Choco?
Bear.
Okay. Then last is who are the other children of Mrs. Bear?
Hippie, Ali, Piggy.
Okay, very good. You really understand the story. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, class. Today we have a children's story, and it was entitled Three Little Pigs. Okay, I would like you to listen carefully, and after I read this story, I gotta ask you what you have learned
with this story. Okay? Do you understand? Okay, let's start. The story was the three little pigs. Okay. Mrs. Pigs was very tired. Oh dear, she said to three little pigs. I can't do this work anymore. I'm afraid you must leave home and make your own way in the world. So the three little pigs set off. The first little pig met a man carrying a bundle of straw. "Excuse me," said the first little pig politely. "Would you please sell me some of your straw so I can make a house?" The man readily agreed, and the first little pig went off to find a good place to build his house. The other little pigs carried on along the road, and soon they met a man carrying a bundle of sticks. "Excuse me," said a little pig politely. "Would you please sell me some sticks so I can build a house?" The man readily agreed, and the little pig said goodbye to his brother. "I'm going to build myself a much bigger, better, stronger house," he thought. And he carried off down the road until he met a man with a cart load of bricks. "Excuse me," said the third little pig, as politely as his mother had taught him. "Please, can you sell me some bricks so I can build a house?" "Of course," said the man. "Where would you like me to unload them?" The three little pig looked up around and saw a nice spot of ground under the tree. "Over there," he pointed. They all set to work, and nighttime the house of straw and the house of brick were built, but the house of bricks was only just beginning. The first and the second little pigs laughed. They thought their brother was really silly having to work hard when they had finished. Okay, the story said, yung dalawa niyang kapatid na baboy nakagawa na ng bahay, nagawa sa straw and gawa sa stick. Pero yung ikatlo, bago pa lang sila magsisimula. Do you understand what the lesson? What the story about? Okay, pero hindi pa tayo natatapos yan mga bata. We have the excitement moment about this story. Continue, and please continue to listen about this story. Okay, let's continue. However, a few days later, the brick house was complete. Yung third pig, his house was complete na. And look, a very smart with shiny windows, a little neat chimney, and a shiny knocker on the door. One starlit night, soon after they had settled, and isang gabi matapos lahat yung kanilang bahay, a wolf came out looking for food. Meron daw isang wolf na naghahanap ng pagkain. By the light of the moon, he espied the first little pig's house that made of straw. He sailed up to the door and called, little pig, let me come in." "No, no, by the hair of my chinny chin chin," replied the first little pig. "Then I halt and fall and I blow your house in," said the wolf, was very big and greedy sort of wolf. And the wolf was half, and he fought and blew the house in. But the first little pig ran away as fast as his trotters could carry him and went the second little pig's house to hide. Bilisan daw tumakbo ang yung first pig pumunta sa kanyang kapatid. The next night, the wolf was even hungrier, and he saw the house of stick. He crept up to the door and called, little pig, let me come in." "Oh no, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin," said the second little pig as the first little pig hid trembling on the stair. "Then I help and fought and blow your house in," said the wolf. And the wolf was half and fought and he blew the house. But the pigs ran away as fast as their trotters could carry them and went to the third little pig's house to hide. "What did I tell you?" said the third little pig. "It is important to build houses properly." But he welcomed them, and they all settled down to the rest of the night. The following night, yung sumunod daw na gabi, the wolf was even hungrier. Yung wolf is gutom na. And the feeling bigger and badder than ever. Prowling around, he came to the third little pig's house. He crept up to the door and called, little pig, let me come in." "Oh no, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin," said the third little pig, while the first and the second little pig hid trembling on the stair. "Then I help and pulp and I blow your house in," said the wolf. The wolf was half and he fought and he blew, but nothing happened. So he half and he fought, he blew again. Paulit-ulit na hinahalf and pa-fought and blew yung bahay ng third little pigs. But still nothing happened. Walang nangyayari doon sa bahay. The brick house stood firm, na natiling nakatayo yung bahay ng ikatlong baboy. The wolf was very angry and getting even bigger and even badder by the minute. "I'm going to eat you all," he growled. "Just you wait and see." He prowled around the house, trying to find a way in. The three little pigs trembled when they saw his big eyes peering through the window. Then they heard scrambling sound. Quick, said the third little pig. "He's climbing on the tree. I think he's going to come down the chimney." The three little pigs got the biggest pan they had and filled it full of water and put it on the fire to boil. All the time, they could hear the sound of the wolf climbing the tree and walking along the roof. The little pigs held their breath. The wolf was coming down the chimney. Nearer and nearer he came until, with tremendous splash, he landed on the pan of water. "Yowie!" he screamed. To shot back up the chimney, thinking his tail was on fire. The three little pigs saw the big bad wolf was flying over the treetops, clutching a very sore tail. So the three little pigs lived happily together even after in the very smart houses of bricks. Okay. Do you understand what the children's story is all about, guys? Okay, and now I have here two questions for you. First, what is the title of the story that I read? Okay, very good. The Three Little Pigs. And ano naman yung lesson or na nakuha nyo dun sa kwento? Okay? Tama! Magaling. Okay, tama ang iyong sinabi. Bilang magkakapatid, kailangan talaga na laging nagtutulungan. Okay? Yun yung pinaka-main lesson dun sa binasa kong story. And ngayon, alam ko na intindihan nyo yung kwento. Okay? So, by the next day, are going to read some story about a children's story. But from now on, these Three Little Pigs that I read is ito pa lang muna sa ngayon. Okay? And now, thank you everyone and God bless all.
Did you know the story of Heidi in the City?
No po.
Okay, here's the story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Heidi. Due to the loss of her parents, her aunt was taking care of her. But one day, she took Heidi to her grandfather's little hut in the mountains. Grandfather Alm was a grumpy old man who lived in the small hut on the Alps. This was the first time when Heidi saw her grandfather, telling him that he had found a job in another city. Her aunt left her with her grandfather and returned to the city. Grandfather Alm, who was used to live in an isolated life away from the people, was actually glad that his granddaughter was there but did not show it to her. The old man prepared a nice cozy bed for her. She loved her grandfather. From the first sight and happy times were about to begin for her in the mountains. When she woke up in the morning, she was introduced to her grandfather's very big dog, Joseph. Heidi loved Joseph. Then one day, when she was hiking on the hills, she met Peter, the shepherd. He was grazing his goats. "I haven't seen you ever here before," Peter said. Heidi replied, "Yes, I just arrived. I have come here to live with my grandfather from now on." In a couple of days, Peter started to take Heidi with to graze his goats in the maidens. They started to hike together in the mountains. Everything was so new and exciting for her. She learned a lot from her Peter about how to be a shepherd. Even though he didn't show it much, but Grandfather Alm loved Heidi very much, running around and having fun in the fields all day long. Heidi was very happy. She was a very caring girl as she never forgot to help her grandfather in the housework. One of her favorites was to bake bread in her grandfather's wood oven. She used to take the bread for Peter's grandmother. In return, Peter's grandmother would give her fresh goat milk to drink. One day, summer was over and it was a winter time. When Peter started to go to school, she was left alone and eventually got bored. She was really upset that she was too small to go to school like Peter. One day, her aunt came back. To take her back to the city, she was going to get homeschooling and work. Grandfather Alm was very upset at first and didn't accept. But when he thought about it, he realized that it would be best for her to stay in the city and learn to read and write. "But I don't want to leave you. I love my grandfather," cried Heidi. But she was convinced to go after her aunt promised her that she would be back after a short while to the mountains. They both arrived in a big mansion after a long train ride. Wow, what a big house! I am going to stay here, said Heidi happily. There she met Clara, the little girl in the house. Clara couldn't walk because of an accident she had when she was a little child. Her aunt actually brought Heidi to this house to keep Clara's company. Clara and Heidi soon became best of friends. Not knowing much about the urban life, Heidi was making Clara's laugh with her silly mistakes. Clara's grandmother was very tall and strict lady. Get up, you lazy girl. It's time to study. You still have a lot to learn, shouted Clara's grandmother. Clara's grandmother was trying to teach Heidi a lot from how to sit and stand up properly, and how to use knife and fork at the dinner table. And she was even dressing like the ones who live in the city, but she wasn't feeling comfortable with these dresses. Clara also helped Heidi to learn read and write. She did like being with Clara and all, but she missed the mountains and her grandfather a lot. Heidi couldn't even eat because of her sadness. Clara's father and grandmother realized her sadness. After a while, they decided to send her next to her grandfather, but Clara was very sad because Heidi was leaving. The grandmother made Clara understand about Heidi's sadness. At last, it was time to say goodbye. While Heidi was leaving, her aunt told her that Clara would visit her in the mountains next year. Happy to be back to the mountains, she first went to Peter's house to give birth to Clara's grandmother that Clara's grandmother had sent for them. Leaving the fancy dress behind, she went home running and hugged her grandfather as tight as he could. And they were happy again. A while later, she was high in the clouds of happiness because of the letter she arrived, saying Clara won't going to visit her soon. Being in the Alps, Clara liked Peter a lot, but Peter was a bit hesitant because he was afraid that Heidi was going to back to the city with Clara. Clara, Peter, and Heidi were having the time of their lives in the hills. The fresh mountain air and fresh fruits were really good for Clara. But Peter started to get very jealous of Clara because of her close friendship with Clara. Peter also didn't like to carry Clara to her wheelchair and push her around. One day, he pushed Clara's wheelchair up from a cliff. He thought that this would solve everything. Without her wheelchair and with the fresh mountain air, Clara became much stronger and she even started to walk with Heidi's help. After a while, she started to take steps without any help. I can walk. Yay, I owe this to you, said Clara. One day, Clara's father and grandmother came to visit, and when they saw Clara walking, they couldn't believe their eyes. They gave their thanks to grandfather and Heidi. Peter also realized his mistakes and he was feeling sorry for what he had done. He confessed to push Clara's wheelchair up the cliff. All of them forgave him. They all laughed with joy. Clara and her family promised to visit next summer, and they'll all live happily ever after. In the end, I have a question. Do you know that what? This is the question. What city does Tete take Heidi to live?
The Frankfurt.
Okay, very good. Second question. Why is Tete taking Heidi to the grandfather's house?
To live her there.
Okay. Last question. What is the name of dog? Joseph. Very good. And this is the end of the story.